So I'm in my fancy dress today because we are making fancy soap. And when I say fancy soap, I mean, oh my gosh, we have pulled out all of the stops for this week's lineup. Now, before I tell you about today's soap, hello, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudzers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And today is day one of a lot of days where we are making sort of themed soapy things. And I am so excited for this line. This is actually going to be the new men's grooming set in the men's line, specifically for men who shave. And that's what this entire week's worth of programming is going to be. So we're going to be looking at the different soaps and the hand creams and the face washes and all of the things for a cool men's grooming kit. And you're definitely going to want to stick around for it. Now, the reason why I have fancy dress on today is because the themed sets, there's actually going to be 4 of them, and they are each going to be modeled after a person from the Rat Pack. And today, it's Frank Sinatra's turn. So we are going to kick off the first of the series in style with Frank Sinatra doing his soap. Now this soap is scented with bourbon and Cubans, and it actually has bourbon in the soap itself. Now, working with alcohols, especially hard alcohols, as opposed to wines or beers, can be a little bit complicated. And so we're going to talk about that in the video. And, you know, we're going to just go to the video now because it's awesome, and I'm so excited to launch this line, the Rat Pack line, so let's go check it out. So I suck at all the things. Yesterday, we were talking about my favorite additives, and I didn't even include booze, and that's obviously one of my favorites. And so we're making a booze soap today. But one of the reasons why I super suck at all of these things is that I didn't show you the booze process. Now, this lye solution is 80% beer and 20% bourbon for this particular bar. And I didn't show you that process at all, and I guess I probably should have. Now, including hard alcohol in your soaps can get kind of dangerous, in all honesty. I love making hard liquor soaps because it is scary. Like, there's always the potential that something could go horribly awry and you end up with this crazy, expanding, scary mess of either your lye solution as you're putting the lye in, or, you know, weird acceleration and crazy things going on when you're putting it into your oils. Now, for hard A, when you're using hard liquor for your soaps, you have to boil it down until the alcohol is released and is burned off. Otherwise, you're going to have a crazy, awful, super nuts mess on the table. And I know that from experience. And so as a result, you end up with a lot less alcohol than what you had started with, right? And so that can get to be kind of an expensive additive, which is why I'm putting just the 20% of the bourbon in it and then subbing the rest for a beer for this particular soap. Now, again, the soap is for, you know, Frank Sinatra, which is awesome, and it's super exciting. And so, of course, it was going to be a bourbon soap. It is actually a bourbon and a Cuban cigar blend that I created to make this, you know, smell delicious and awesome and all things cool about, you know, Frank Sinatra. And so with this recipe, because of the extra alcohol in it, because you've seen beer accelerate, I've shown you that before, but alcohol, hard liquor, that can really accelerate. So this particular recipe formulation was 70% liquid oils with only 30% solid. because I wanted to keep this batter super, super fluid throughout the entire pour. And that's what we have going on right now, and that's awesome. But in a lot of times, that's not the case with my liquor soaps. They will get very thick very, very fast. And so I always do very simple designs when I am working with hard liquor in my soaps. So a solid color or just a quick swirl, not a lot going on, and I pour it as quickly as I possibly can, which is, you know, one of the reasons why this video is so darn short. Because you do want to do everything in your power to control those temps and keep them down as low as possible. And then you have to actually watch out in the during the saponification and make sure that you don't get too much heat to these soaps. And so for that reason, this guy actually does not get C-popped, because the beer in and of itself can cause the cracked tops. But when you have the extra, you know, alcohol in it, it's cracked tops to a crazy, disgusting, really weird degree. Now I put just a little tiny bit of a mica in there. There's a good amount of, you know, the actual coloration that's coming from the beer and the whiskey itself, and so that's cool. But I do want to make sure that, because the theme that I'm sort of going for, since this is a bourbon and Cuban, you know, blend, I want it to kind of have the nice golden beautiful color of, you know, a bourbon mixed with some like white wispy things to sort of give a nod to, you know, it was a different time with the smoking and all of the things back then. They didn't know. It was different, and so it's a nod to, you know, the fabulousness that was the chairman, really. And so we are going to do just a very little swirl with that white there into the brown, so it has like the, I don't know, the illusion of like smoke going through the bars, right? Which is my thinking with all of this. Now, I still have fluid batter. This is awesome. We're going to pour this as quickly as we possibly can, so nothing fancy with the actual, you know, in the pot swirl, no time for extra colors and doing the things. Just have to get it ready to pour as quickly as possible before this sets up too terribly much. Okay, and the pour is going to be as simple as you would expect. I'm just going to tilt this thing and put everything in it as quickly as I possibly can. And that's, again, I am always working on a crunch here. So in total, like, this is a little teeny tiny batch, right? This one right here, just for the video. So even for the bigger batches though, isn't that pretty? Yeah, so hopefully that sort of shows up in the cut and there's just some little wispy white bits in it. But like in total, for regardless of the size of the, you know, the actual soap batch itself, I am spending literally less than, you know, 7 minutes on this. Like, I am working very quickly. I'm prepared to work and move very fast in something like this to ensure that it's in the mold before things start going weird. Granted, if things start going weird in the mold, you also have your own set of problems. But again, if you are soaping low and you have, oh, I didn't actually even talk about that. So in my beer soap recipes, you've done the things. So, you know, I've shown you, we freeze the beer and do the stuff and, you know, whatever. I also don't freeze the alcohol, the booze, because even when you cook it out, it doesn't really freeze. It creates like this weird slushy thing. But I do freeze the beer, and so you are bringing down the temperature. And also, this is one of the few in a lye solution where I do actually put the container that you're pouring everything in into an ice bath to help keep that temperature as low as possible. And then I also soak very, very low with this too, to keep the batter, again, as fluid as humanly possible. Now, on the top of that, I'm writing my way, but because this is so fluid, it's really not going to show up. And then so I just, never mind, we're not going to do that after all. My Way is my mom's favorite Frank Sinatra song, so that was just, you know, a nod to that. And yeah, again, this is not going to get C-popped. I am going to cover it, but it will not go into the oven. We're not going to force it through gel. I want to make sure that that top stays, you know, unbroken. And so we are going to work with that and cut it tomorrow and see what kind of mess we have inside. And by tomorrow, I of course mean, you know, next slide. Okay, on to the cut, and so far so good. Everything looks really nice. I like the wispy white on the side of the bar there, and I also really like the top. There's no, yep, there's no cracking on that. That looks really good. We do have some seepage. That is another issue that I experience with soaping with hard A as well. Again, working with actual liquor, it's a very advanced process. You have to have a lot of soap under your belt before you attempt something with hard A, because you need to be able to control a lot of different variables. And also with that seepage, the bar tends to absorb it all back after the as it cures. And so I just kind of leave it alone and don't wipe any of it off. The bar reabsorbs and it all works out. Now, I love that. That's actually very cool. I am hoping that the color will continue to darken up through the cure. It's a little bit lighter than what I wanted, but the white wispy, that totally works out. I'm just hoping that the brown, that's beautiful. See, you know, sometimes simple soaps can be super amazing. I love that. I am hoping that the brown actually becomes more of like a darker golden bourbon color when it's all said and done. I think it will. Based on the blend that I used, there's a really high percentage of, you know, things that brown soaps. So I am assuming it's going to do its thing. And yeah, you see that? A little bit of seepage there in the middle too. That's the hard A. That is definitely one of the things that you deal with when you're working with alcohol soaps. Now, I would never actually use, just for cost purposes, one, but the legit danger purposes, and I would never actually, because I have done it, use completely nothing but hard alcohol in a soap and not cut it with either a distilled water or a beer or something else, because the seepage is, the finished bar, it actually ends up being a mess no matter what you do with it. And there's a lot of seepage, it becomes a soft bar. It's very, yeah. So I tend to keep my hard liquor at 20% and then sub the rest with either a distilled water or a beer to continue to drive the point home of this is an alcohol soap, and, you know, get all the cool sugars and everything that come from the alcohols without causing extra problems in my soaping, really. And that's a super exciting day 166, the Chairman Bar. It is a bourbon and Cuban blend, and I can't wait to see the rest of this, you know, new line for the men. I'm very excited. I personally think that's such a fitting soap for the Chairman, and I am super excited to have done it and to put it in the line. Now, this particular soap, again, it has the bourbon and the Cuban scent blend in it, but also made with booze. And as I said in the video, working with booze can be a little bit complicated, right? Because you don't want too much alcohol, essentially, because that can cause a boatload of problems within your soaps, especially when you're dealing with the hard alcohols. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed me not exploding, but I mean, people don't explode with soap, to my knowledge, but things certainly can from time to time, and it didn't happen today, so that's awesome. Now, again, this soap is going to be part of a complete grooming set, right? So it's not available at soapandclay.com just yet, but it will be by the end of the week. If you're interested in seeing the rest of the process and all the rest of the products that we designed, not only for each individual gift set, but the other 3 Rat Pack members that we selected for these gift sets, you should subscribe to the channel. You can come back tomorrow and check out the new product and watch the entire, you know, process of building an ultimate skincare and grooming kit for men, you know, fall into place. And that would be cool. And yeah, if you're interested in following me on social media, I am there. Do the things: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And for those of you who are already subscribed and or following me on said social media things, thank you so much. I'm really glad that you came back for another round of 365 days of soap. I'm super excited to see what your opinions are throughout this week as I continue to design the bars and theme them around different Rat Pack members, really. So, you know, thank you again for being here, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.